He's got his own billiard room. Yes, it's what do you call it, Kramer? The billiard room. No. The name. The billiard? Not billiard. Not the billiards. It was... Come on, Rudy. Come on. We call it the place to be. The place to be, yes. It's the place to be. Then I shall be there.
Now, it's time. Live and in living color. The Grandy Man can.
Time to play the game.
And it's a line drive kick. Jackson bobbles it and now has to try and recover. Deshaun Jackson gets a block. Are you kidding? Deshaun Jackson still not in and now in for the touchdown. No flags. Unbelievable. No time left. Eagles win. Here's the pressure. Favre. Jump ball, Moss. Got this one. The 500th career touchdown pass by Brett Favre. The final snap of Super Bowl 45. The Green Bay Packers have won the Super Bowl. The Lombardi Trophy is coming home.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is now time for the Place to Be Podcast. And now your hosts, Justin Rosero and Scott Criscolo.
Place to Be Nation, if that doesn't get you all jacked up. I don't know what will. I am your co-host, Justin Rosero, and welcome back. We are powered up, we are jazzed up, and we are just in time for the 2011-2012 NFL season. And here to help me preview it, as always, is my PIC, the man behind the mic, Scott Criscolo. How you doing, Scott?
Good evening, Mr. Rosero. And I tell you, I feel like I should be throwing in Madden 95 or something, or Madden 96.
No, if so, we'd have Pat Summerall putting us slowly to sleep.
Yes, with his drunken slurs.
Yes. Actually,
I
I played a little bit of the new Madden tonight, just a quick game, and then I uploaded the new roster, and I forgot they have Gus Johnson doing it, which is a major upgrade. Him and Chris Collinsworth do the comment.
Oh, you did get the new Madden, huh?
Yeah, I picked it up yesterday morning when I was without power. I was riding around early with nothing to do, so I went and picked it up at Target, and I played like I was busy tonight, but I got a few plays in, and then I went to set up my online shit and downloaded the updated roster and everything. So hopefully Friday night I'm planning on getting some games in.
Oh, good. I like it. Just I'm sure it's just as exciting as the NCAA game I got last month. Probably the same engine.
Yeah, and as Steve Richards told us, both of those games very highly rated and highly recommended from him.
Yes, absolutely. But with the awesome, obviously heard some of the great highlights of the end of last season, including the final game of the year in Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, which didn't have the home team in it, much to my chagrin.
Much to my wallet.
And of course the fact that the whole thing was an absolute disaster. But anyway, the Green Bay Packers are your defending world champions, and tonight in episode 59.
No, I didn't prepare.
Of the Place to Be. I couldn't think of a 59 either. It's a strange number.
Yeah.
Number 59 of the Place to Be podcast, and my PIC JR and I weathered the power outage storm.
Yes.
Brutal. Of Hurricane Irene. Yeah, you had it a little longer than I did. I think I lost mine probably mid-afternoon Sunday because when I called my house, my phone was out, and I think I got it back about 11 o'clock Monday morning. So I probably lost it for probably like 12 or 13 hours.
That's,
however.
Child's play, yes. I lost mine at around 8:30 Sunday morning and just got it back around 5:30 this morning. So
yeah.
And this is Wednesday. So, yeah, I was without it for a few days.
Yes, and actually there's friends that I know, very good friends that live in Norwalk who still don't have it. So, in fact, somebody told me today that my power was turned off again for an hour today and turned back on. So, which is interesting. So
yeah, they might have been resetting to turn other ones on. And
yeah, because there's
good.
I was going to say there's huge pockets still here in Connecticut that do not have that still don't have power. So
yeah, and they're giving estimates of like this weekend, I think, to try and pad it, because like mine wasn't supposed to come back till Saturday, and then my parents and our good friend Josh Richer, theirs wasn't supposed to come back till Sunday, and they came on this evening. So
okay. Yeah, I think they're padding it too. I bet you everybody should have it back. I would think everybody should have it back by tomorrow. I would hope. Maybe Friday the latest.
Yes.
But in any event, we are plugged in and ready to rock and roll. And tonight, episode 59 of the Place to Be podcast, we do put on the chin, hook up the chin strap, put on the shoulder pads, and get ready for the 2011 NFL season with our highly anticipated, we pumped this thing up till the cows come home.
Yes.
NFL preview special.
Yep. So much like baseball, what we're going to do is go through division by division, give you our where we see the divisions falling, and then we're going to give you our playoff matchups, Super Bowl picks, and a few different awards as well.
Right. Now, we will break the divisions down. We're going to, since obviously, if you are a loyal PIC listener, you know whose teams JR and I root for. They're both in the respective conferences' Eastern divisions. But we clearly know, and I admit it, that his team will probably have a better season than mine will. So what we'll do is we'll start in the NFC, start out west, and then go east, and then we'll go in the AFC and do the same thing. So we'll do the AFC East last to be able to talk about your beloved gangrene.
Okay, now the question is, you want to go reverse order from bottom to first in each division, or how do you want to do that?
We'll go bottom to top. We'll build the suspense, and then we'll do we'll do our coach of the year, our league MVP, who we think our surprise team of the year, our disappointment team of the year. My disappointment team might surprise you. I already thought about it. And then, of course, how we think the playoffs will lay out, and then who will win Super Bowl 46 in where the hell is this year's Super Bowl? San Diego?
I don't know.
I don't even know. I'll have to look that up.
What Super Bowl is this? Super Bowl
46.
I'm not good with the numbers.
I used to be good with the numbers, and then to me they all kind of blend into one. I believe it's Super Bowl 46.
No, 46.
No, this is 46. It's actually at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis.
That's right. Yes, Indy.
Yeah, and it'll be February 5th on NBC. So you're going to get stuck with Collinsworth for the Super Bowl, as much as we didn't want to hear him.
I like Collinsworth.
Oh, I thought you were happy he wasn't on the show anymore. Wasn't on Madden. Or did you say Gus?
No, he is.
Gus
He's with Gus Johnson, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I like Collinsworth a lot.
Okay, I do too, actually. So he used to annoy me in the 90s, but he's gotten a lot better as he's gotten older. But he used to drive me crazy. But yeah, that game, we were going to let you know how we think the season's going to roll from right now until, of course, February 5th at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. I believe that's where the Final Four is, too. Is that where is Indianapolis a big year?
Could be.
I'm trying to think. Let me check that real quick. Where is the 2000 Division I Championship 2012 is in it's in New Orleans. It was in Indianapolis 2 years ago when Duke beat Butler. And it won't be there again until 2015. I was just curious. Okay. All right. Why don't we start and break down who we think will be in the standings from west to east. So we'll begin in the NFC West.
Okay.
And that'll be our first team. Now, last year, just to kind of give you a refresher on how the division laid out last year, it was actually one of the worst divisions probably in the history of the league.
Yes.
As all four teams finished under 500. And on the final night of the regular season, the Seattle Seahawks beat the St. Louis Rams to win the division at 7-9, which makes me sick because it was Pete Carroll who ran out on USC as they were imploding and then decided to take an NFL job, considering he's probably one of the most lukewarm coaches in the history of the league, but then pulled off a stunning upset in the playoffs, beat the Saints, and then got rubbed down to a nub at Soldier Field against the Bears.
I've been in that stadium for a game, and those fans are tremendous. It's a great atmosphere. I was not surprised that they ended up. I thought the Rams were actually a better team, but I wasn't surprised that the Seahawks won that game just because of the home field advantage and the fact that the Rams were throwing out a rookie in that game, and I definitely thought the Seahawks would pull that out. Now, them beating the Saints was a surprise, but honestly, I remember before that game saying I wouldn't be completely shocked just because I know how amped up those fans can be in that stadium and how loud it can get in there.
Yes, of course, Justin talking about Quest Field. So why don't we break it down from bottom to top? Here's who I think will finish, how the NFC West will finish. Last place, I hate to say it. Well, no, I don't hate to say it because it's one of the teams I was never a big fan of as a kid just because of the rivalry. But I think it is going to be a very ugly, long season in San Francisco for the 49ers.
Yes.
I have no idea why Jim Harbaugh left Stanford. A golden job. He could have been there for life in Palo Alto. He had a great quarterback back this year, Andrew Luck. Stanford is a top 10 team. They probably, Oregon is a top 5 team. But they were going to be one of the two best teams in the Pac-12. Instead, he leaves Stanford to take this nowhere job, in my opinion, and he is going to learn the hard way that staying in college was the better option.
No, I honestly, I'm not against the move that he made because he obviously wanted to stay in that area. And this job was open. Also, I think he knows this team is probably going to be bad enough to draft Andrew Luck this year, which is definitely a definite possibility. So he knows he's going to bring his quarterback in probably into his system next year. And I don't, in the NFL, I don't think any job is really a dead end job. Maybe that's why I don't like Oakland, but any team can really come alive and win it. In football, you can turn things around so quickly due to the parity and the short season schedule. So,
right.
I don't think they're going anywhere this year, but I can see why he would take it, especially with the chance of hopefully drafting Luck in this year's draft because they're going to be. I mean, they're definitely one of the worst 3 teams, if not 2 teams.
And this is probably going to be Alex Smith's last shot. The Niners wasted the number 1 pick on him a few years ago, and he's just been an absolute disaster. So,
yeah. Well, they had no one else to take. I mean, I know the whole thing is, well, look at Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think Rodgers would have developed like he did if he started in San Fran.
Aaron Rodgers was a perfect example of sitting back and waiting, and he was the perfect guy because he got to sit back and watch Brett Favre throw one playoff pick after another, and then finally had his chance. So, we'll get to the Packers in a little bit.
Okay, so let's move up. Good. I'll go for number 3. I have Seattle here. Coming off winning the division last year, they kind of backed into it. I think the top of the division is a little bit stronger now, so I think Seattle falls back to the pack. They brought in Tavares Jackson for the quarterback, who I'm not a big believer in. And other than that, they upgraded with Sidney Rice. Not much else going on in Seattle. So I think they dip back a little. They'll win their 6 games based on the home crowd. They'll probably win 5 at home and 1 on the road or something like that. But that's where I have them.
Yeah, I actually have it. I have them in 3rd place, and I also have them going 6-10. I have the Niners going 3-13, but I have Seattle 3rd as well, going 6-10. Defense is going to be solid. Again, I'm not as down on Tavares Jackson as most. I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but he may milk some wins out of this team, but it's not the team that went to the Super Bowl. They've changed a lot. The offense has gotten older. They have some issues with some of the skill positions. Pete Carroll's definitely going to take a step back, and I like Seattle finishing 3rd as well. At number 2, I have the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
I'm a big Kevin Kolb fan, actually. I'm glad he left the Eagles. He was floundering there. He wasn't going to do anything. They made a bold move and a smart move by keeping Larry Fitzgerald. The guy's easily one of the 2 or 3 best receivers in the league, if not the best receiver in the league.
He's the best receiver in the league when he has a legit quarterback throwing.
Right,
and I think he did not have last year.
No, and I think their defense is going to be okay. They're going to have some issues. They're obviously they have a very poor, their secondary is not the best, but they may be good enough. I won't say whether they win a wild card. We'll get to the wild cards later, but
no,
I like Arizona to finish 9-7. They'll win They'll win big games at home. The toaster out there in Glendale is a tough place to play, but I think Arizona finishes 9-7 in 2nd place.
I'm not as big a Kyle fan as you are, but he's obviously an upgrade to that team, and the defense was decent last year. So I didn't do records, but yeah, I have them somewhere. I'd say between 7-9 and 9-7, but definitely in 2nd place there. They'll win some games, lose some games, but nothing special. Of course, the division winner, which we both have, is the St. Louis Rams. I am all in on the Rams this year. I think they're going to have a very good year. I like Spagnuolo. Sam Bradford, to me, he had a great rookie year, and now he's a year further along, and he also has more receivers to throw to as well. They brought in Mike Sims-Walker, who was pretty good in Jacksonville, and to go along with Amendola, who was very good last year. So I like that team. I think they'll win the West. They're the team that'll probably come in with a good record into the playoffs, and then we'll get there. But I don't think they're going to go deep just yet. But they'll end up winning 10 or 11 games just based on the fact of their division. They'll probably sweep that division or at least go 5-1.
Yeah, I'm sure. I could see them maybe losing at Seattle, maybe, and then probably winning the rest of the games. But I'm a huge Steve Spagnuolo fan. Steve Spagnuolo did one thing that you and I will find in high regard, and that was dissect that ridiculously bloated Patriots offense in 2007 and then pop the bubble.
Yep.
Of course, Matt Rotella and others may differ, but they didn't win the game. So, I was a Sam Bradford fan in college. Loved him at Oklahoma. I'm glad he got an opportunity even after he hurt his shoulder his senior year. But Spagnuolo knows how to coach a team, and he knows how to get the most out of players. I mean, how the hell do you get a team that, won 2 games a couple years ago to be on the cusp of the playoffs in just a couple of years?
Yeah, with a rookie quarterback, too.
Yeah, that's
as good as he is, still a rookie.
Yeah, very impressive. And so I am like you, JR, big on the Rams bandwagon. I got my Marshall Faulk throwback in the closet. May pull it out once in a while this year if they need a big win. But I like the Rams to win this division as well, definitely. Right. So JR and I both pretty much have the same. From top to bottom, we like the Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, and 49ers in the West. Why don't we move on now to the NFC South, and we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. And at the bottom, and they're going to be a little better than they were last year, but I still think that the worst team in this division is the Carolina Panthers.
No doubt.
I have nothing against Cam Newton.
I think he's actually be okay.
Irrelevant of what his issues were, what happened, after the fact and in college and everything that went on. I mean, regardless of all that junk, he's going to put up some decent numbers this year. They're still not the best team in this. They're still not going to get out of the basement in this division.
No.
But they're gonna make some noise. They're gonna make some noise, and Cam Newton will win some games, a game or two. I'm a little bummed because my guy Jimmy Clausen will probably get no playing time unless the kid gets hurt or really plays terrible. But you know what? When you put all your stock into a number one draft pick, the number one pick, you're gonna play the kid until he either gets.
Well, you know what, too? They're going to play him because they need to see if they suck and he sucks. They're probably going to still draft Andrew Luck if they get the number one pick, regardless of just taking Cam Newton, which it might be unprecedented, back-to-back years taking a quarterback number one. But if they're bad and he doesn't progress, don't be shocked if they take Luck and then try and trade Newton.
I mean, I don't know if they'll go that far. I don't think the Panthers will be that bad. I still think
if they are, though, I'm saying if they are.
If they are, there's a chance. There's a chance, but I just don't think that they're not gonna win a boatload of games this year.
They're in a tough division. I mean, I could definitely see them going winless in that division easily.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they'll win 2 games total, but I like Carolina. Carolina's going to pick up the rear in this division.
All right, I have them there as well. And then in third, I have that team that everyone's kind of waiting to finally break through, including me. They had a good year last year, but they're kind of like, liken it to the Blue Jays in baseball, where they're a very good team, but they're just cock-blocked right now by 2 very good teams ahead of them that are just years ahead in progress. So, the Bucs are where these 2 teams were a couple years ago, and of course, as I just mentioned, Tampa Bay, I have finished in third. I like Josh Freeman, Raheem Morris. I could also see them kind of hitting a sophomore slump, this team, a lot of youth, not a lot of big-time impact players, but a lot of guys that play well together. So I could see them taking a slight step back, but they'll still finish third there. I just don't think they're as good as the 2 teams ahead of them.
Okay, well, this might be the first shock of our preview tonight. I have a feeling I have these 2 teams finishing tied for second, and I actually have Tampa winning the tiebreaker. I have a feeling, and I'm hinting to one of our awards later on, but I see a huge step back for the New Orleans Saints this year.
Mm-hmm.
I trust me, I love Drew Brees, and I was huge on their bandwagon 2 years ago to beat the Colts in the Super Bowl and make that run, and I loved them beating Brett Favre in the NFC Championship. But the defense seems to have regressed. They don't have much of a running game. The running game struggled last year, and obviously the defense just was abysmal as we saw in the playoffs a year ago when they couldn't stop Seattle, for God's sakes. And I think that Willis McGahee run back may live in their memory forever. I just think the team they're gonna take a step back. I think they're gonna give up a lot of points. I still think Drew Brees will put up good numbers. They still have a great receiving core, but they're going to struggle to run the ball, and they're going to struggle up front to stop the run as well. So I think they're going to finish tied for second at 500 with Tampa Bay. I like the Bucs. I like Josh Freeman. I'm not totally sold on the sophomore slump with this team. I have a feeling, though, they're going to make a step up. I think they're going to beat the Saints in a big game this year. They're going to hang around with some teams. But I definitely see Tampa making huge strides this year, and I see a huge step back for the Saints. So I actually have them tied with the same record of 8-8, and I think Tampa gets the tiebreaker and finishes second.
All right, in my opinion, I think you're a year early on this. I think the Saints are going to have one more kind of dead cat bounce year where they have enough talent, and Brees is just so good that I don't think he's going to let them fall apart just yet, especially coming off such a devastating playoff loss last year. I think they have one more bounce back year where they win 10 or 11 games and make the playoffs. I do have them making the playoffs. I think Tampa is going to finish just behind them, and I think next year is the year where Tampa finally usurps them and the Saints start to break down with that age. But I think Brees is just so good, and Sean Payton's is such a good coach that I can't see them slipping too much just yet.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I thought last year, for a team that was so good 2 years ago, last year they had some some good games in the regular season, but I just couldn't believe they folded as easily as they did in the
Yeah,
postseason.
I mean, games like that happen. That's football. Anyone really can win at any time. And like I said, Seattle is a very hard place to play, and that team had nothing to lose. They were just out there flying around. Carroll had them all whipped up. Was it a major upset? Should the Saints be embarrassed? Absolutely. But I don't think it. Like I said, I mean, I pretty much predicted it. I thought, I can't remember where it was. I think it was on a board. I might have picked them. I really thought Seattle had a chance at that game just because of, like I said, the home field and the fact that they had nothing to lose or were coming in hot. So I don't think it was that as big of an upset as maybe a lot of people thought. But
okay.
I still think New Orleans has enough in the tank to at least go one more year.
Okay. And obviously, and this is I may be on this bandwagon even more than I am on the Rams, and my pick to win this division is obviously the Atlanta Falcons. I love Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan might be one of my favorite players in the entire NFL.
Yeah, I think they're going to win probably 14 games.
That's what I have too. I have.
Is that what they won last year?
No, I think they went 13-3. Okay. I think they'll go one game up more this year. Maybe they went 12-4. No, I think they went 13-3. Actually, you know what? I have the last year's standings here. 13-3. Yeah. Okay. So I think they'll go one game better. I love Matt Ryan. The kid's a smart, intelligent, cerebral quarterback. He gets defenses. They just didn't have the firepower in the playoffs last year against
Green Bay
against the Packers.
And now they add Julio Jones to that team along with Roddy White, who probably is right with Larry Fitzgerald as the best receiver. Michael Turner again coming back. So they have very good offense. Their defense is very good as well. And, they do have a bit of a tough schedule, though. They open at Chicago, and then they get Philly at home. So that's a big game right off the bat, week 2. And then they do get Green Bay at home, and then things taper off a little bit from there. So I could see if they're going to lose a couple games, maybe those are the two, maybe split New Orleans. So maybe 13-3. But tough schedule early. It gets soft later on. But they're easily, I think, going to run away with this division.
I think so, too. I watched a lot of Julio Jones over his career, working for my client, CBS Sports, and a lot of SEC football. And he is just such a phenom as a wide receiver. He can muscle the ball from defensive backs. He's got the size. He can catch the ball up the middle. He can catch slant passes. He could line up in the slot. He's a very versatile receiver. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a lot of fun throwing to him. Mm-hmm. So I like Atlanta easily in this division, as do you. So the only difference is you and I have a little more faith in Tampa Bay, and you have a little more faith in New Orleans.
Yep.
But we both have Atlanta winning it, and we both have Carolina on the backside.
All right, let's move on to the North.
Yep.
The fourth place team I have there is the Minnesota Vikings. I think they fall down hard, back down to earth now. Favre is gone. They bring in McNabb. I actually think McNabb will have a decent season. And while I have them finishing last, I think it's going to be one of those divisions where it's all kind of bunched together. So I can see him finishing like 6-10 or 7-9. And being in it and being frisky, but I just think the division is tough enough that they're going to end up finishing fourth.
Yeah, I agree. This team is just such a mess. They're hurting for draft picks. Obviously, they have no faith in any kind of quarterback growth. They've had John David Booty there forever. They've had guys lined up on the bench, and all they just keep doing is bringing in more older guys.
Well, I'd be curious too now because they drafted Ponder, right? So
they did draft Ponder.
I'd
yes.
be curious to see how long they give McNabb, how much of a leash they give him before they try and see what Ponder can give them. I would think if they start 1-7 or something, I'm sure Ponder is going to take over just to see if he can do anything.
Yeah, and I think this is it for McNabb. I mean, if he
last chance for sure.
If he slumps again, struggles like he did in Washington, although we'll get to the Redskins in a minute.
Yeah, I don't fully put that on him.
No, I don't either. I think he'll have a bounce back year. I think Brad Childress will give him the opportunity to excel. He'll give the opportunity to make some mistakes. But this is going to be a very tight division in terms of records.
Yep.
At least the bottom three. And then in third place, let's put it this way. The three teams I have above the division winner are all very close. Mm-hmm. And I have Detroit, Chicago, and Minnesota in that order. I like the Lions this year.
Yep, I have the same exact as you, so we can get that out.
Yeah, I like Matthew Stafford a lot. I think their defense has gotten a lot better. I love Sue.
Yes, defense is really good. Say what you want about preseason, but it was the third week, which is usually when a lot of the starters play. And I know the Patriots don't run their crazy offense in the preseason. They usually go pretty vanilla, but the Lions totally destroyed them on Saturday night. I mean, they were all over Brady from minute one. He looked completely uncomfortable. So it reminded me a lot of the way the Jets got to in the playoffs. So Detroit, their defense is definitely going to be very good. And their whole hopes rely on Stafford. I mean, if he stays healthy for the whole year, yeah, they're going to be very, very good. And luckily they have decent backup in Sean Hill, but a lot of it just rests on Stafford's shoulders. If he can get through the whole season or, at most miss like 2 games, they'll definitely be a threat. And Chicago, they come and go with Cutler. If he throws more picks than touchdowns, they're going to slide down. If he throws more touchdowns than picks, then they're going to be right in there with the first and second place battle.
Yeah, I have I like Lovie Smith, but there is definitely something wrong in Chicago. They say that they've got faith in Jay Cutler again. We all know what happened in the playoffs last year. An injury's an injury, but he just always looks like he could care less. And you can't really take a guy's facial expressions to heart. I mean, some guys just act like that, but there's still an inner chemistry problem. I know you and I always talk about this kind of thing, but there's an inner chemistry problem, I think, in the Bears with him at quarterback.
Chemistry can play a role in football if but you can get around it if you have a strong core, and I don't think they have it.
No, I don't think so either.
And of course, they brought in Roy Williams, who was atrocious.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. And speaking of wide receivers, getting back to Detroit quickly, I really like Calvin Johnson. I think he's going to step up and have a pretty good year this year and put up some good numbers.
And here's a sleeper. We're not talking fantasy really, but the sleeper in general as a receiver that's going to put up decent numbers is Nate Burleson. Number 2 guy there. Calvin Johnson is going to command a lot of attention. He's going to be open a lot. He's already had big games each of the last 3 weeks in the preseason, so I think he'll be hooking up with Stafford quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so too. Stafford and that draft class of quarterbacks, the last couple of years, you're going to see them shine this year. And we've already talked about 2 of them, Sam Bradford and Matthew Stafford. They're both going to have good years this year. And Detroit will challenge for a wild card spot. I don't know if they'll get it, but they'll challenge for a wild card spot. And finally, the class of this division easily is your defending world champion Green Bay Packers. I'd be surprised if they lose more than a couple of games this year. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think I've ever seen a guy exude such confidence without looking like a jerk than Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
Some guys just, some people have the Brett Favre look where you're good and you are and everybody hates it. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that look at all. Here's a guy who came into the Super Bowl last year, came into the season last year with big expectations. Last couple of years, he threw for 500 yards in that playoff game 2 years ago against the Cardinals.
Yep.
And now here he is. He had a great year last year. Finally exercised the Brett Favre demon. Beat the Vikings twice. The Packer defense beat the snot out of him, and that was it. Buried the Brett Favre memory, and then went to the playoffs. They beat up a good Atlanta team, and then went to Chicago in the cold and beat the Bears. And then didn't make mistakes in the Super Bowl. Usually a well-coached Pittsburgh Steelers team made some mistakes. Ben was not Ben. And finally, Ben Roethlisberger, who's won 2 rings playing lousy in Super Bowls, actually playing bad, kind of caught up to him. He threw a couple of bad passes, and the Packers got the win. And Aaron Rodgers played an unbelievable football game. Yep. He's exuding confidence right now, and the Packers are going to win this division handily and, in my opinion, be the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Now, I don't need to obviously profess my man love for Aaron Rodgers anymore. Big fan of his. Any quarterback outside my team, it's him. I love that guy. I love that team. I think there's a great fan base. I was very happy to see them win it all last year.
Me too.
And when you look at their schedule, they definitely could easily have 14 to 15 wins. They open at New Orleans, which may be their toughest game. And then at Carolina. Home for New Orleans. So actually that gets a little easier then.
Yeah.
Especially since it's at night, so it's going to be pretty cold. Well, I guess not September. But still, is it cold in September in Green Bay? Maybe a little chilly.
Maybe a skosh.
Maybe a little chilly.
A skosh.
Then they're at Carolina, at Chicago, home for Denver. So, say what you will. At Atlanta, which is probably their actual toughest game.
Right.
Home for St. Louis, at Minnesota, at San Diego could be tricky. Home for Minnesota, home for Tampa, at Detroit, at the Giants, home for Oakland, at the Chiefs, and then close out at home for Chicago and Detroit. So, they could easily win between 13 and 15 games, depending how big of a lead they have if they rest guys down the stretch there. So, but I love Green Bay as well. I don't think they're gonna. Well, we'll get to our playoffs, but I don't think they're gonna repeat. But they'll have a good run.
we'll get into our Super Bowl picks shortly, but clearly, in my opinion, Green Bay is going to be the top team in the NFC. All right, let's finally go to the NFC East, which is the division that I know the best. But you talk about teams that are battling for the number one pick, and the Andrew Luck lottery, or if you will, the Andrew Luck sweepstakes. We talk about Carolina, we talk about San Francisco. I think head and shoulders, the worst team in this entire league this year is going to be the Redskins. They are going to be hideous. They'll be lucky if they win 2 games.
Well, I don't think they'll be as bad as Carolina. They're not good, but they won't be as bad as Carolina or San Francisco.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, their quarterback situation's a disaster. The defense is slow. Their secondary is bad. I don't know what happened to Mike Shanahan. The guy can't handle it. Can't handle personalities. I mean, the guy coached John Elway, who was
he walked into a
egomaniac.
That whole team, that whole franchise is a fucking mess.
Well, Dan Snyder thought that he could win like baseball. You don't jack up an NFL team with free agents. That doesn't work in the NFL. There's not enough.
You can, but they have to be complemented by strong drafting and young players. You look at teams like the Jets and Patriots that do this, where they draft a strong core from the inside, and the Packers did the same thing. You draft a strong core, you bring those guys up, and then you complement them with big free agents to fill out the ancillary spots. But the Redskins just tried to, they didn't really develop anyone. Jason Campbell was the closest they came, and they never gave the fucking guy a shot. They kept pulling the rug out from under him every time he had a chance.
Anyway, I don't think he did a bad job in.
No, he didn't. And they kept changing coaches, they kept changing coordinators, they kept changing offenses, they kept changing his receivers, and then they'd pull them, and they'd start them, and you can't develop anything. We saw him last year in Oakland, played all right. So I mean, he's one of those guys that was just kind of ruined by his development. When you look at the opposite of a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
I think it's just not going to be pleasant down in D.C. if you're a Redskin fan.
It's too bad because the league is better when they're good. But.
Yes, I agree. They're one of the, as much as they're my biggest rival, they always bring a lot to the league. But we
talked about this with hockey too when we were talking about the playoffs. How the league is better when the Bruins and the Rangers and the Flyers, those teams are good. Same with football. When the Cowboys and Redskins and Giants, when those teams are good, and the Packers, then football's better because you get those rivalries in the big night games. And as much as everyone's tired of seeing the same teams a lot, I mean, those are the games that draw and usually are pretty good. When you get the Redskins and Cowboys and Eagles and Giants and Packers and Vikings, those are the games that make for compelling television.
Exactly, I agree. Speaking of the aforementioned America's team, I have them because I think Redskins are going to be so bad. I think all 3 teams in the NFC above them in the East will have winning records. The Cowboys are going to be an interesting situation this year because for the first time in a while, I'm actually happy that that the spotlight is not shining on my beloved America's team. I like flying under the radar for once. I am a big Jason Garrett fan. I know that a lot of people thought his stock kind of dropped over the last couple of years, but the Wade Phillips era is one that I would very much like to forget. And I wish him luck in Houston. He's the Texans' defensive coordinator, and that's exactly where he belongs. Defensive coordinator. The guy cannot handle. He's like Charlie Weiss. Mm-hmm. Certain guys just can't handle the responsibility of being in charge of everything, and Wade Phillips is one of those guys. Jason Garrett will open up this offense. I think it'll be nice to see Tony Romo not have to have guys whispering in his ear. He's just going to throw the football. The offensive line is struggling right now in this preseason, so he might get the crap kicked out of him. But the guy that I'm looking forward to seeing this year on a down-by-down basis is Felix Jones. It's good that he's finally going to get every down back. And with Marion Barber gone, and I love Marion Barber, but he just beat the crap out of his body. It's going to be a fun time to watch the Cowboy offense if the offensive line meshes. The defense is going to be – the front seven is going to be great. They're going to have a great front line. Their linebackers are some of the best in the league, but their secondary is going to be awful. And they were banking on getting our pal there, and I'm not even going to pretend to, because every time I say his name right, the next time I say it wrong. But Asamoah. The Cowboys were pretty much banking on him to sign with them, and they gave him pretty much an open check, and he didn't take it, and that was devastating to them because that defensive secondary, that backfield is abysmal. I am fed up with Terrence Newman going after picks and then not running after he misses them. I'm tired of Mike Jenkins missing tackles. I'm tired of Mike Jenkins not playing up on the line on deep routes and playing back on short routes. I can't just stand any of those guys back there anymore. So you're going to see quarterbacks, light them up week in and week out. So it's going to be a very Jekyll and Hyde season for the Cowboys. I think they'll be better than not better. I think they'll go maybe 9-7, which might be a little generous, but I still think they'll be a tough team to face. And if you need a win in December, I wouldn't want to face them. But
all right, I actually have more faith in your team than you do. I have the Giants finishing third.
Really?
Yes. I don't like Eli Manning. He has looked awful in preseason, and I think that guy's just a little overhyped at this point. He had, this great playoff year, obviously, magical playoff run, but since then he's been pretty pedestrian, and he's not someone I really trust. Now, they lost Steve Smith. They lost, who was another receiver? I'm going to try and think of. Hakeem Nicks is going to have a big year, and I think Manningham's going to step up. Oh, they lost Kevin Boss as well, I was thinking.
Boss.
So that's two big, receivers that Eli Manning relied on. And Brandon Jacobs, and is Jacobs even still there? I know they brought back Ahmad Bradshaw.
If you're a Giant fan, ask our man Andy Flanagan. I'll tell you he's not even on the team, but he is.
Yeah.
But it's Ahmad Bradshaw.
I like Ahmad Bradshaw as well. I think they're going to be a decent team. I think they're going to slip back, and I think that team's really starting to tune out Coughlin. I don't know how much longer he has there, so I'm not crazy. I don't think the defense is that great either. So I'm going to have them finish in third. I have your boys finishing second. I'm actually all in on your Cowboys offense this year. I think they're going to be tremendous. I think Romo's going to have a great year. Miles Austin, Des Bryant will be great. And Felix Jones, his numbers were phenomenal once Jason Garrett took over last year, and they used him properly. So I think he's going to have a major year. And I like Jason Garrett as a play caller. And I don't know if you subscribe to the Bill Simmons theory that Garrett hid away all his good offensive plays until Wade Phillips got fired, and then he brought them all out to make himself look better. But
wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
Definitely possible. So I like the Cowboys second there over the Giants.
The only reason first of all, I'd like to know how many Narragansett you've been drinking this evening, because I've never talked that much about the Cowboys in one breath, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And wait till we get to your team. But you know what? I didn't slam my offense. I think the offense is going to be tremendous. I'm just worried about that secondary getting lit up like a Christmas tree every week. The Giant defense, I don't think is going to be that bad. The offense is going to have issues. I agree with you about Eli. Eli still has that deer in headlights look sometimes, and the running game right now is a disaster. And I agree with you about Coughlin. Eventually, but every time it seems like they tune him out, they end up playing for him in a big moment. But those December games last year, I remember I watched them with our man Dr. G, who's a huge Giant fan, and I think he wanted to gouge his eyes out with a spoon watching the Giants the last 3 weeks of the season. That game against Green Bay, I think he wanted to put a bullet in his head. I mean, you were talking about a team that looked like they quit.
Now,
the Giants that last week looked like they quit.
I need to qualify a little bit. I said Eli's not been that good. I mean, he had a good year last year. 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns. Very good year.
But he threw a lot of picks. What do you have, like 22 picks?
I don't have it here. But yeah, he did throw a lot of picks.
He threw a lot of picks. He threw a lot of turnovers. So he may still have those issues. But I think they're going to be a little bit better than the Cowboys. Maybe it's just me being defensive about it. I like your thinking better as a fan, but the last time I jumped on my team's bandwagon, the Mavericks swept them. So I'm trying to be a little more proactive.
Here's the key for the Giants. They need to start hot because the first half of their schedule is fairly easy. Second half, not as much. To start, they go Washington, Rams, Eagles, Cardinals, Seahawks, Buffalo, Miami. So, even if they drop the Rams, the Philly game, they got to beat all those other teams. Then they get at the Patriots. But then after that, they go to San Francisco, another winnable game. But then from there, it gets really hard. They got Philly, New Orleans, Green Bay, all in a row. Then Dallas. Then they get a down week with Washington. They finish with the Jets and then Dallas. So, a tough finish. So if they start hot, they can still pull it out. But I don't know. To me, this team has 8-8 written all over them.
Okay. And obviously the team, and as much as I feel like me hearing myself say this is like nails on a chalkboard, the best team in this division is the Philadelphia Eagles. However, before everyone does the whole Miami Heat bandwagon jump, I've watched a couple of their preseason games, and they have not given Michael Vick any time to throw the ball in it. Their offensive line has been horrible.
Yes.
It has looked like a sieve. And I'll tell you something, Michael Vick, and the key thing for them this season, they made some great acquisitions. But I don't think there is and there might be some people that disagree with me. I'm looking forward to our feedback on our Facebook page about this. But I don't think there is a worse time management and playoff pressure coach than Andy Reid.
Not since Herm Edwards got fired.
Has there been a worse coach at the most important times? They should have won at least one ring in that stretch with Donovan. Yeah. At least one. They never lost to the Panthers in that NFC Championship game. Never.
And they're getting all the hype, deservedly so, because they do have a really loaded offense. But I don't think they're going to be the super team that everyone. I'm with you. I don't think they'll be the super team that everyone assumes. I mean, I hate playing this game, but you have to assume Vic is going to miss a couple games. I mean, he's just so injury prone in the way he plays.
And that brings you to the wild card, the enigma on this team. And I said this to you off mic when we've been working on this show in pre-production. I said it to our friends. Vince Young is going to be in a big spot this year. Can he deliver?
Well, the key for them is, when does Vic get hurt? Is it going to be during a stretch, when they're at Buffalo, at Washington, 2 winnable games, or does it come when they have the Giants and the Pats back to back, or when they got the Jets and Cowboys back to back? When does it come? Do they already have a big enough lead in the division where it doesn't matter? It's a big point. I think LaShawn McCoy is going to have a good year. Jackson and Macklin, obviously, both very good last year. And, of course, now they add Steve Smith, who I think will play a good role as well. So, and then, of course, Asamoah, Rogers, Cromartie, and Asante Samuel, three very good cornerbacks they have. So, it's going to come down to their offensive line, like you said. Be very interesting. And whether Vic can stay healthy. They will win this division. It's just a matter of if they're going to be the team that everyone thinks they'll be.
Exactly. And they will win. I think they'll win their share of games, and obviously they'll get their share of hype this year, and they'll look good in games. But the grind of a 16-game season. I mean, I can't remember the last time Michael Vick hasn't had to deal with that in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So there's our NFC picks. Well, let's recap them for you quickly. In the NFC East, I have the Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Redskins. You have the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Redskins. In the North, I have Packers, Lions, Bears, Vikings. I think you have the same thing, right?
Yep.
In the South, I have Falcons, Bucks, Saints, Panthers. You have Falcons, Saints, Bucks, Panthers. And in the West, we have the same: Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, and Niners. Now, we'll do our seeding for the playoffs when we get to our playoff picks a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the AFC.
Okay.
And obviously, we'll save your division for last.
Yep.
So it can let you have your moment of gangrene, because I have lots to say about them as well, and I think you'll like it. So why don't we start out West, which is more of the enigmatic division in the AFC, in the conference. You've got 4 very even teams, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy by saying that.
Yeah.
But there's going to be more parity in this division than people think. I still think the Raiders are going to finish last, but I don't think Oakland's going to be as terrible as everybody thinks they're going to be.
No, I think last year was their peak year. Honestly, they had a pretty good year last year. For them, I think they take a step back this year. I don't know. They don't. Here's a funny story. I don't know if you saw this floating around today. Did you see what Terrell Pryor's Wonderlic score was?
I didn't see it. I imagine it's not very good.
I believe it's out of 50, right?
Uh-huh.
Or no, it's out of
40. 40.
Yeah, it's out of 40, and he got a 7.
Well,
now to flip
he could do math at least, because he got good money on all of his Big Ten awards.
To flip that, Greg McElroy, the draft pick by the Jets out of Alabama, who's going to be their backup, or third string, I think like a 36. So that tells you the difference there.
I will. Don't you worry. I will be waxing very nice for McElroy. We'll get to him in a minute, because I saw a lot of him in the last couple of years too. But the Raiders will have their moments. Defense is still good, and adding Boss will be good. I like Campbell. Another guy. Again, we talked about him.
Are they going to let him play though? That's such a circus over there. Are they going to let him actually go, or are they going to be forced into trying to let Pryor go? Or I don't know. Last year was kind of a train wreck, and they were good enough to pull out some wins. I don't know. I'm giving them 4 or 5 wins at the most.
Well, I have them in last place too. I don't have winning the division or anything. I'm just saying I don't think they're going to be as hideous as people think. Right above them in third, I have the Chargers. First of all, how much credit can you really give North Turner? In all honesty,
I don't know.
And as much as I've always said he's a good quarterback, but how much more? I don't want to say how much more rope before he hangs himself. I don't want to word it that way, but how much more time do we need to give before we give up on Phillip Rivers? I mean, how many more playoff games does he have to lose?
It's not always him though. I mean, that whole team seems to gag, and North seems to gag, but they're a great regular season team. And we're not talking playoffs right now. We're talking regular season. So you haven't finished in third in the regular season, which is when they're usually pretty dominant. And, last year Rivers threw 4,700 yards and 30 touchdowns. So he had a great year. And Tolbert is a pretty good running back. He'll be splitting the time with Ryan Matthews. And, of course, you have Gates and Vincent Jackson back for a full season. And their defense was very good last year. And here's their schedule, all right? Listen to this and you tell me how you think they're going to finish third. Minnesota, New England, Kansas City, Miami, Denver, the Jets, Kansas City, Green Bay, Oakland, Chicago, Denver, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Baltimore, Detroit, Oakland. I mean, they're going to win at least 11 of those, I think.
I don't know. I don't have a good feeling. I don't know how much more of Norv Turner's, whose coaching is about as good as whose coaching's about as good as Andy Reid's is at times. I just don't have the. I think I don't say I've given up, but I don't know. I don't have the faith in them to come up with big wins in a big spot again this year. I think the clock has struck midnight.
I think they're so inherently talented enough to win that division.
All right. Well,
I don't see anyone else in that division being good enough to take over.
All right. Well, I disagree vehemently as we will move up the ladder. My second place team.
Well, hold on. I didn't get to my third place.
Oh, I thought you. Oh, that's right. You don't have San Diego. That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
I have Denver there. I don't know. I think they need another year under John Fox. I think they're going to have such a radically different offense. Orton threw a lot last year, and he was very successful. But obviously, Fox likes to run more, so it's going to be a big year for No-Show Marino, Willis McGahee. I think they'll get there eventually, but I think they need a couple years for Fox to turn that program around. And their defense was a sieve last year.
We'll get to the Broncos for me in a minute. My second place team is going to be the Chiefs. They're one of the best coached teams in the league. I'm a big Todd Haley fan, and obviously you have an amazing pair of coordinators. They may not have been great head coaches, but no one writes up an offense better than Charlie Weiss, and no one writes up a defense better than Romeo Crennel. I like Matt Castle. I like Jamal Charles. I think this defense is going to be fast. I think they'll make mistakes, but I think they'll be fast. They'll be loose, and I like them to snag a wild card in this division. So I think Kansas City was not a fluke last year. I think their talent did bond. They did lose in the playoffs to a better Ravens team. I think the clock struck midnight in that aspect. I mean, they were just coming up. I mean, they've been a doormat for a few years. But I think
I think they were a year ahead of where they should have been. And I think they come back to earth a little bit this year. I haven't finished in second as well. But I do think last year was a little fluky, only because Matt Castle, I think he led the league in would-be interceptions. Or I think Eli was actually up there too. Basically, where other teams drop their picks, or she should have been picked off more. Kind of got basically like the baseball equivalent of BABIP, batting average of balls in play. It's
right.
kind of the same idea as that. So he got a little bit lucky there, and also their schedule was a cupcake schedule last year, and they were able to parlay that into 10 wins. And even they probably should have had more based on what their schedule was. Schedule is a lot different this year. In the second half alone, so from week 11 on, they have New England, Pittsburgh, the Jets, and Green Bay. So, and that's not counting the earlier part of the season. They got San Diego twice and the Colts. So, tough schedule for Kansas City. I think they trickle back a little bit. And then I have San Diego obviously winning the division. We already talked about them. So
yeah, I actually this might be our biggest disparagement. I thought the other thing was going to be more disparaging, but I actually am going to take the Broncos to win this division. I'll tell you why. I think this whole controversy thing with Orton and Tebow is actually going to bond this team close together.
I don't think there's any controversy. I mean, Tebow's the fucking third string quarterback at this point.
I don't disagree with you. I think he is too. But I think all the hype that was given to, and all this trading Orton, and there were rumors he was going to go to the Dolphins, and I think they really like Kyle Orton. I think they like Brady Quinn, who actually hasn't had a bad preseason. But I think this team is going to bond. I think they're going to be like Kansas City last year. I think they're going to step up, win big games on the road. The defense will still be shaky. They were pretty awful last year, but I think they'll be a little bit better this year. And I think they're going to sneak up out of nowhere and win this division. So that's one of my big upset specials this year. Is I think Denver's going to step up and win this division.
I think they're a year away, at least. I think.
Okay. Let us head now to the AFC South, and this is another division another pick that you might think I'm nuts, but maybe not.
Probably.
At the bottom, I have the Tennessee Titans. I thought what they did last year was absolutely redonkulous. They just chose between a really good head coach and a really talented yet fragile quarterback. And in the end, they got rid of both of them, which I thought was absolutely stupid. If I was the owner of the Titans and I was choosing between Jeff Fisher and Vince Young, I would have taken Jeff Fisher as well. Vince Young just was too fragile. I hate to say it that way. He was and I think Jeff Fisher should still be the head coach.
Probably, yeah.
I have nothing against Mike Munchak. He's an old school Oiler. He was been with the organization for years. but they definitely took a step back. I wouldn't be surprised they're top 5 or top 6 in the lottery, in the draft in April. I think they're going to have some real problems moving the football, and I think the defense will be pretty good, but I think they're going to struggle to score, and they're going to bring up the rear in this division.
Okay, I think they'll be a little higher. I have Jacksonville 4th. Del Rio is always on borrowed time, and I think this is where the clock finally runs out on him. Garrard, I have no faith in him. I think Gabbert will be starting probably by week 4 or 5. I think their offense downgraded. They lost Mike Sims-Walker. The fan base is apathetic. I think the clock's ticking on that franchise as a whole. I think they're going to be at LA within the next few years. I just don't see them having much life this year. MJD is banged up. There's more of a groundswell for Rashad Jennings to kind of get more carries. I just think that this is the year they finally dip down and win 5 or 6 games. They've been playing above their head the last couple of years. And then above them, I have Tennessee. Same beliefs as you. I think Hasselbeck's an upgrade over Vince Young, obviously. He's good when he's healthy. And Kenny Britt is obviously a very good receiver as long as he's out of jail. And Chris Johnson, if he doesn't hold out past like week 2, will obviously have his usual good year. So I think they'll have a decent year. They'll probably win like one more game than Jacksonville. I don't see them being that much better. But those are the 2 teams I have 3 and 4.
Okay. At 3, I have Jacksonville. I don't hate David Garrard, and he actually had a pretty good year last year, and has shown at times to be a good comeback quarterback. I agree with you about Jack Del Rio. I think this year is make or break for him. The defense isn't bad, but I like them. I like them in 3rd place. But I think David Garrard is better than you think he is. I think he'll still put up good numbers. And
I don't think he's bad. I just think he's done.
Okay.
I just think he's kind of cooked. And I think they're going to want to see what Gabbert has, because I think they're going to be desperate to try and – I think Del Rio's going to be desperate for his job, and if they struggle early, I could see him trying to go to Gabbert, and then things just kind of bury from there.
Okay. My number 2 team – or you did your number 3 team, right?
Yeah,
you said,
Titans. Yeah.
Okay. My number 2 team is actually the Colts.
I'm with you.
Because and obviously, let me just talk about our number 1 as well. We both I am big on Gary Kubiak's bandwagon, and I love the Texans.
This is the year they have to do it, right?
Yeah.
Every year they say they're going to do better, and they always finish 8-8. Last year they finally broke through and finished 9-7. And now with everything going around with Peyton Manning, who's scaring the shit out of me, they activated him, and it sounds like he's going to be ready, but I don't know. I've heard various things, and he seems like he's one big sack away from being out for the year, possibly. So,
yeah, I agree.
And them giving big money to Kerry Collins, obviously, is a big red flag.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I'm from Connecticut, and I don't know why people slam Dan Orlovsky, UConn alum, went to Shelton High School, but he just doesn't seem to get the job done. They don't give these guys. I mean, when Bill Polian says that they're going to sign Kerry Collins, not play any preseason games, and then have him start week 1, I mean, that just makes no sense. I don't know what's going on there. They are petrified.
Yeah, they don't know what to do.
Literally, that franchise is literally crapping themselves right now. Because if Peyton Manning is out, when was the last time he was out for an extended period of time? Ever, isn't he? He's on a consecutive game streak.
Yeah, he's never missed a game. No.
He hasn't missed a game. He hasn't missed a game in ages. I mean, they're crapping themselves right now.
He started from day 1 in 1998, and he's never missed a game.
And he's never missed a game.
I want to correct myself. I misspoke. Houston was 6-10 last year. It was 2 years ago that they finally went 9-7.
Yeah. Now last year they had some injuries.
Yeah, Schaub missed a lot of games.
Yeah. I think Matt Schaub's going to be lights out this year. I love Andre Johnson. Always did. Arian Foster is a stud at running back.
Now, it came out today, he actually has a slight tear in his hamstring.
Well, he might miss first couple games. Well, Matt Schaub might have to throw the ball a little bit more, and I don't think that'll be a problem.
No.
But
now Indy too, they have some cupcakes early, but they also have some tough games. They're at Tampa, which is kind of a trap game, and that comes after the home for Pitt. So 2 big games there back to back. Then they're at New Orleans and home for Atlanta. 2 more tough games. And then they got at New England, at Baltimore, back-to-back weeks. So that's kind of a make-or-break section right there. They got Jacksonville, Carolina back-to-back with the bye in the middle, but then at New England, at Baltimore. And then the game that really could decide the division, week 15, they're home versus Houston, or week 16 rather. So big game there. That's a Thursday night game, Indy versus Houston. So that could be a big, big game. I think Houston wins the division. I don't think they're going to run away with it. I think they win it by a game, probably, maybe like 10-6 to 9-7 or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So.
But right now, the Colts really gotta
Now, this is all
get ready for
qualified.
disaster plans.
To me, this is all qualified with Manning not being Manning. If Manning is fine, I think they probably still win the division. But I'm rolling the dice and saying I don't think he's fine.
I don't think so either. I'm rolling the dice and taking the Texans as well.
Let's one of these years they got to do it. I mean, one of them.
They have to. Yeah. They have to. There's too much talent in the skill positions to not. And that stadium, the fans are really starting to kind of embrace them now. It's a big, loud place. They need to take advantage of the home field advantage this year.
Yeah.
All right, let's move now to the AFC North, which is always the toughest division in terms of getting hit, because you probably
the easiest to pick though.
Maybe. Well, easiest to pick last. Maybe there's one team that'll be worse than the Redskins this year.
And this team may be in the Andrew Luxury speaks for sure. But they just drafted a quarterback, of course.
Exactly. And that is, of course, the Cincinnati Bengals. They are going to be awful this year. No talent in the skill positions. The defense is bad. Marvin Lewis, you want to talk about a guy who's on borrowed time. How many lives does this cat have?
Well, they need to decide. Do they want him to lead the rebuilding effort, or do they want to bring someone else in? Because they're in complete rebuilding mode. They got nothing. I mean, I don't know what Andy Dalton's going to bring, if he's going to do anything, but they're totally stripped. Now, Cedric Benson's serving jail time. Is he going to be ready by week 1? I don't know what's going on. So they are, they're in deep shit. Now, Ochocinco's finally gone. T.O. is gone. A lot of the stalwarts that they were kind of hanging on to, now they're finally rebuilding. So, they'll be lucky to win 1 or 2 games.
It's Carson Palmer just decided I just can't put up with this crap anymore.
Yeah, how bad are they that this guy fucking retired instead of playing for them?
I know. Yeah, and Ochocinco's gone. There's just a lot of garbage going on, and it's ruining this team. They've had so many chances. I mean, God, they swept the Steelers 2 years ago, and won the division for God's sakes. I mean, of course, you had a hand in that, but it's just they need an overhaul.
I don't see the only game I can maybe see them winning is home. All right, their chance is going to come early. They're home for San Fran, home for Buffalo. If they don't win one of those games, I think it's going to be a long year. They're at Cleveland, at Denver, then they're at Jacksonville after the San Fran Buffalo week 3 and 4. At Jacksonville, home for Indy, at Seattle, which is no gimme, at Seattle. At Tennessee, then they got Pitt, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pitt, Houston, St. Louis, Arizona, Baltimore. So I think if they're going to win a game, it's going to come in those first couple when they got, or week 3 and 4, home for San Fran and Buffalo. If not, they may fucking go winless, this team.
Yeah, there's just so many problems from top to bottom. Paul Brown Stadium is going to be fairly empty this season. Right above them is another one of my surprise picks. This is another team that I think a lot of people want to jump on, and we're not sure if they will. I'd like to think they will, and that's the Browns.
Yeah.
I love Colt McCoy. I loved him in Texas. He's another one of those smart. I think his Wonderlic grade was very good as well. The guy wrote a book, for God's sakes. I think they're going to do very well this year. The problem is they're just in the wrong division.
Cock-blocked.
If they were in like the
Tampa.
NFC West, they'd be in great shape.
They're just like Tampa and the Toronto Blue Jays, cock-blocked by the division. They're just 2 really good, well-built teams ahead of them. And it's going to be very hard for them to ever, they're going to need like a major injury to one of the other 2 teams to ever really slip in. And they have a hard schedule. They're at Indy, then they got at Houston, St. Louis, Baltimore, Pitt, and then in the middle is kind of a mishmash. So I can see them kind of going 8-8 and being a little friskier than normal, or maybe 7-9. Last year they were 5-11. I can definitely see them improve. And say what you want, and a lot of people have about Eric Mangini. That guy's quickly becoming like the Buck Showalter of football. He builds these programs and sets them up for other coaches, and he did a good job setting the foundation for the Jets' renaissance. And he's doing it again here in Cleveland. He did it for them. And who took over for him?
Pat Shurmur.
Okay, Shurmur. That's
Fritz's
right.
kid. Yeah, no, he's got a pedigree of good coaching.
And of course, Holmgren now, he's fully, overseeing everything. So
yeah, he's running that franchise, and he's not a dumb guy.
No.
The draft picks will continue. I think Colt McCoy will put up good numbers, but again, cock blocked by too much talent at the top. And you have them in third too?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I think you and I have these 2 teams flip-flopped. Why don't you tell me who your second place team is?
Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah, I have Pittsburgh too. and I have Baltimore 1. In that same vein as Matt Ryan, I am a huge Joe Flacco fan.
I like Ryan better than him. I think he's good.
I do too, but
and he's got increased weapons this year. I'll have another full year of Bolden. I love Ray Rice, but I think Pitt. I don't know. I just think of the full year of Roethlisberger and Mike Wallace. Broke through last year, and I think he's going to have another great year. I think Pitt's is going to be too tough, and their schedule is not that hard.
I think these two are going to go back and forth, and I think the Ravens. I think this comes down to one game. I think the Ravens are going to finally break through, go into Pittsburgh, and beat the Steelers to win the tiebreaker. That's what I think. But these two teams will be close. I'm not saying they're going to be, I'm not saying the Ravens are going to win 15 games.
They play each other fairly early. The opening week they're playing at Baltimore, and then week 9 they play at home.
See, I think the Ravens sweep the series.
Okay. No, that could be the key.
I think Baltimore finally goes into the catch up and that horrible.
Well, here's the thing though.
Turf.
Baltimore better do it early, because after they play week 9, here's Pitt's remainder of their schedule: Cincy, Kansas City, Cincy, Cleveland, Niners, Rams, Cleveland.
That's the Steelers.
That's the remainder after they play. They have New England and Baltimore at home back to back, and that is the remainder of their schedule. So if Baltimore's gonna take a lead, they need to do it early, because once they play them in week 9, it is running downhill for the Steelers. I mean, they could legit sweep those last 8 games.
They can, but I think Baltimore breaks through and wins They're going to win that one game in Pittsburgh and win the tiebreaker.
Right, yeah, that'll be the key. That'll be a big game in Pitt, Sunday, November 6th, 8:20. So NBC game.
It'll be a night NBC game. I like the Ravens to steal that game.
Who the fuck booked this game? Monday, December 19th, Pitt at San Fran for Monday Night Football.
Oh, that's terrible
game that is.
Oh, that's horrible. So in the North, yep. So I have Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals. You have
Steelers, and I have both. Ravens. I'll say it now, I have both teams making the playoffs. Ravens, Steelers. As always.
I do too. So. Yeah, I do too. I think Cleveland's going to be just short, but I think they'll be like Tampa last year.
Yeah, they'll be frisky. Yeah.
I think they'll be there to the end. This might be our last division, and this probably will be the easiest of the divisions to pick for me. Very easy. We'll start at the bottom, and I want to like this team. See, I have a soft spot for the Dolphins, so I can't see that. I don't want to pick them last because I don't want to see my guy Tony get fired. But
I'll pick them last.
I think the Bills are going to be slightly worse. I don't know when that team's going to get any better. There's rumors they're going to leave Buffalo, which I think that city would implode if the Bills ever left.
Yeah, that'd be awful.
But to me, a good Bills team, like you said, is like the Redskins. Like, they're just a great fan base. Mm-hmm. I know a couple guys that I work with who are Bills fans who actually go to at least one game a year at Ralph Wilson Stadium. And they've said that the tailgating's great, but it's funny. He said the stadium is like in the burbs.
Yeah.
They're like neighborhoods around.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
Yeah, I have family friends that actually just moved to Buffalo for work. He's in the medical field, so he's doing doctor, whatever the hell they do, to working at different hospitals. So, and they actually ended up getting Bills season tickets this year because they're fairly cheap. So they're big Patriots fans, but they got the season tickets.
Lovely. But they're still gonna have struggles this year.
Well, this is what it comes down to for me. I just think Ryan Fitzpatrick and Fred Jackson are better than Chad Henne and Reggie Bush. So that's what it comes out for me. And I think Chan Gailey is doing a good job. Buffalo it's Chan Gailey, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Rebuilding that franchise. I really like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Miami is going to get hit in the mouth early and fall apart and then find themselves in the Andrew Luck sweepstakes. Now, that could totally reverse, and I could see them winning 7 or 8 games as well. I'm just going to kind of go out on a limb here just to do something different and pick the Bills for third. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills win 3 games and Dolphins win 8. I mean, honestly, I'm just kind of doing this to be a little different, but it wouldn't shock me if the Dolphins totally fall apart early in the season and then go nowhere, and that's the end of the Chad Henne era.
And I hope it's not the end of the Tony Sparano era. Because, for those that don't know, I have a huge soft spot for Tony because I know him well. He coached my alma mater, University of New Haven, to 3 playoff years out of 5, got them to the national championship. And he's a good guy. And he's from New Haven, so he's from the old school like my dad.
He's someone, though, that if he does get canned, he'll get another job.
Most likely. I mean, he's a guy that he's very tight with Parcells, and he's tight around the league. So I hope he doesn't get fired. I really don't. But they're going to struggle this year too. I hope they give him a chance to have a decent quarterback because he's had absolute crap for the skill positions in the time he's been in Miami. I know he loves a Wildcat and all, but you have to have a decent quarterback to get away with the Wildcat, and he never did. So
I actually have a friend of mine on my softball team that's a big Dolphins fan. He was already complaining, saying how it's horseshit that they're playing Monday night against the Patriots in September, saying that takes away their advantage. Of course, kind of league pandering to the Patriots, he thinks. But, one of the advantages of them playing New England in that time of year is that they have the heat on their side. And, of course, this year they're playing on Monday night, so it's not going to be as much of a factor. And then they go to New England in the winter, so he was already pissed off about that. But he has a lot of faith in Chad Henne. I do not.
I don't either. So we'll see. Now, we knew it was going to come to this. We knew that the last thing we were going to talk about, the war to settle the score. And no, I'm not talking about Hot Rod and the Hulkster. But this rivalry has, to me, I don't want to say it's reached Yankees-Red Sox level of hatred, but
it's getting there.
It's getting there. I mean, the barbs thrown between you and our good friend Matt Rotella are comical. But
well, he's in over his head anyway. So.
But I think this comes down to just like the Ravens, and I'm, of course, talking about the top two teams in the East. Of course, the New York Jets, Jets, and the Patriots.
Jets, by the way, only one Monday night game.
I don't think the Cowboys have any, which is very rare. But
and they have one Sunday night game, or two Sunday night games.
Yes.
No, one and a Thursday. I'm sorry, two and a Thursday. 3 and a Thursday. My bad.
Three Sunday nights and a Thursday?
Yeah, 3 Sunday and a Thursday.
You can't deny that the Patriots, again, have loaded up on offense. Their skill positions are exceptional. I think Ocho Cinco is actually going to have a good year.
I am complete disagreement. He is having an
awful... The guy that pisses me off on that team is Albert Hainsworth. I thought that was the stupidest signing. I don't care how much of a great drill sergeant, friggin' psychologist Bill Belichick is. Albert Hainsworth is the laziest bastard I've ever seen in my entire life.
We'll see. He might give them one good year. He might give them one good year.
I think he's a stiff.
I think Ocho Cinco is going to be awful. He is having a terrible preseason. They're saying he has no concept of the playbook, and they're already debating is it in his head because they're not let him do all this shit, and should he be allowed to do his outside stuff? And I don't think it's going to end well for him there. Welker's Welker, although he already banged up his neck, and he's another guy that's injury prone. Their strength is in their tight ends, obviously, and Hernandez and Gronkowski are both excellent receiving tight ends. Right. And their running backs are actually getting pretty good as well. The dude they drafted, I can't think of his name. They're already blowing him over here after one big game.
Fuck his name. Oh, shit. Crap. I can't think of his name.
But Ben Jarvis Green Ellis actually had a very good year last year, so he'll be back as well. And their defense is getting better, so I never count them out. Of course, I'm picking them second, the Jets first, just because I have to. But I think it's going to be a toss-up. The reason I'm taking the Jets is, let me read you for the last time. We're going to reschedule, and this is theirs. Home for Dallas, home for Jacksonville, at Oakland. Then they go at Baltimore, at New England. It seems like a lot of teams have Baltimore, New England back-to-back. So those are the two toughest games right there. Then Miami, San Diego, which is home. Buffalo, the Patriots again. So they're done with the Pats after November 13th. They don't have to worry about them again. Then they got Denver, Buffalo, Washington, Kansas City, Philly, Giants, Miami. So, a lot of winnable games in there, especially the second half of the season. The big thing will be they have to at least split with New England, and they have to beat Baltimore this year, finally. They haven't been able to do that the last couple of years. If they win one of the New England games, and they win at Baltimore, and then at least beat the Giants if they lose to Philly, I think they could at least go 13-3. And they're going to have to win this division.
Right, excuse me.
And they need to win the division. They can't keep going on the road for 3 games. They have to win the division.
Yes, I agree. Excuse me. What position guy were you talking about again? The rookie? You said he was a rookie?
For New England.
Running back?
Yeah.
Ridley?
Yes, Ridley.
Stephen Ridley from LSU?
Yeah, he had a good game in the first preseason game, and they're already crowning him MVP. Like they're usually doing on EI and these other stations.
Yeah. Don't you miss hearing about the Bruins?
Yeah. Actually, they were talking Bruins the other day, and I was glad to hear that.
I agree with you in terms of the layout of the division. I think you guys are actually going to sweep the Patriots. I think you'll win the game in Foxborough, and I think that's the difference.
Well, the thing that worries me,
just like the Ravens and Steelers, I think that makes you'll go into Foxborough and you'll beat the Pats.
The thing that worries me is they're going to New England a week after they have a Sunday night game at Baltimore. That worries me. Those two games back to back. I wish they were split up. I wish they did not have those two games on the road, or I wish they had the New England one first. That's gonna be tough to come off that Baltimore game and go into New England. So that'll be tricky, but I think they can do it. Obviously, a big key is Plaxico Burress. Can he give them anything? Can he stay on the field and can he stay healthy? I think Derek Mason's a good pickup if he's your third wide receiver. If he becomes your number 2, I think they're going to be a little bit more trouble. Santonio Holmes is a beast. He's going to have a monster year.
I think
Sanchez makes the leap this year as well into not that top tier, but into that next tier with Matt Ryan, Flacco, Eli Manning, that kind of group. I think this year he elevates into that second group.
Do you really think so?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a reason, and I'm not gonna slam the Sanchez. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I think he's done his. I think he's gonna have to win. I think he's gonna have to make some big plays, and he has.
But he has made. Yeah, are you kidding me? That's all he's done. The problem is he hasn't made the routine plays, which to me is what he can do. He made a lot of big plays last year. That Detroit game in overtime, the bomb against Houston down the sidelines, and then he has played fantastically in the playoffs throughout his career. And that includes the New England game, the Pittsburgh game, and the Colts game, and the Chargers game. He's already won 4 or 5 playoff games in 2 years. And he wins those big games and makes big plays. He's an escape artist in the pocket. The problem is when it comes to the routine plays, a lot of times he can't get the chains moving. And that's going to be the problem. But I think the things he's missing, I think, are things he can get. Not throwing that stupid pick, eating the ball, his decision-making. I think he's got strong enough arm, and I think he's got the leadership qualities down. I mean, they look at him as a major leader on that team. So I think he has that part. I think the things he's missing are things that you can gain. You can't gain leadership. Look at a guy like Jake Cutler. He's got a huge arm, but he's missing that gutty kind of leadership quality that I think Sanchez has. And I think This is the year he does make that leap. I think you're off on the big play things. I think that's all he's done is made big plays.
Well, I don't know. There's plenty of backup quarterbacks they could have drafted. McElroy, and again, coming from my client and being very close to CBS Sports, I've watched a lot of Alabama football over the last 3 years. He could probably start for half the teams in the league. That's how highly I think of McElroy.
Well, and he's not even going to be the backup this year. He'll be the third behind Brunell, but I think by next year he'll be the backup.
Yeah, well, Brunell's here just to make some money, and he'll probably retire at the end of the year.
Well, yeah, they want a veteran, and he knows the system, just in case anything does happen to Sanchez. But I think McElroy is definitely their guy if long-term something happens to Sanchez.
Yeah. I hope, and he has won playoff games. I'm not disagreeing with you. Obviously, there's the next step.
He also had a big game against Pitt last year. That must-win game late in the year. He had a great game.
Yes, I watched that. That was, that game was the same day as the game in which we heard our opening clip tonight, which is that infamous Giants meltdown against the Eagles. I remember my brother almost threw some firewood out the window after that, and then he had to sit there and sulk while the Jets beat the Steelers. I don't hate the Giants, but sometimes I enjoy the behavioral patterns of Giant fans. Well, like I said, I wouldn't be picking the Jets to win the division because I think he's a shitty quarterback. I'm not saying that. But this is the year now that Jet fans can bloviate all they want, but a third straight AFC Championship loss is unacceptable.
They got to get.
Regardless of who you blame or who you want to, whose fault it is or anything like that, it's time to get over that hump. And
they have to get to the Super Bowl this year, and like we said, they have to win the division. I think playing those 3 games is what's killed them the last couple of years.
Yes, I agree, and I think they'll do that this year. So, all right, so there's our picks. Just to recap very quickly, in the East, I have Jets, Pats, Dolphins, Bills. You have Jets, Pats, Bills, Dolphins. In the North, I have Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals. You have Steelers, Ravens, Browns, Bengals. The South, I have Texans, Colts, Jags, Titans. You have what?
Texans, Colts, Titans,
Jags. Okay. And in the West, this is our main disparagement. I have Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders. And you have what?
Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders.
Broncos, Raiders. Okay.
So, yeah, that's our division picks. And so we will be getting to our awards, individual awards, and the playoffs. But before we do that,
yes,
we're going to take a word from our sponsor. Because promotional considerations paid for by the following.
yourself a favor and make that number 1. WrestleChat.net, the only professional wrestling news site that brings you all wrestling news all day long, and is home of the critically acclaimed Still Real to Us podcast, starring former CZW ROH and ECW announcer Eric Gargiulo and the champ Jeff Beck. That's WrestleChat.net. WrestleChat, it's where it's at.
And I apologize. I'm not sure why it wasn't really picking it up. We'll have to figure that out. I don't know.
But it's definitely there. But we apologize. But we enjoy our good friends at WrestleChat.net.
Yep, definitely check it out.
Yes.
Yeah, I apologize to them. I don't know what. Did the Open sound clear to you when we played the Open?
The Open was fine.
All right, because it wasn't really on the, I could see the digital bars of the recording. So, it wasn't. When you said that, I had noticed it wasn't really picking it up. So, weird.
Interesting. But that's all right.
Yeah, WrestleChat.net, all the wrestling news.
Yes, obviously ironing out the kinks from post Irene, bitch. Yeah, and of course we obviously pimp their site more on our wrestling related oriented podcasts. In fact, we have our new WrestleChat.net segment during our headline shows, which you'll hear consistently this throughout the fall and winter on the Place to Be. All right, so we have our top. I'll rank our top 6 in each conference for the playoffs in a moment. Why don't we do individual awards?
Okay.
Let's start with, we have Coach of the Year, MVP, Surprise Team, and Disappointment Team. Now, we're gonna go by, well, the MVP is the whole league. Coach of the Year, they do one in each conference. So why don't we do that?
I only actually picked one, but I can come up with some of them.
Okay. Yeah, no, they do one for each conference. MVP, they only do obviously one, but Coach of the Year, they do one in each conference. So tell me, sir, who was which conference did you pick yours in?
I picked
Here.
NFC was the main one.
Okay, so we'll do NFC first.
Okay.
Who was your NFC Coach of the Year?
Steve Spagnuolo.
Okay. My Coach of the Year is going to be Jason Garrett. No, I'm just kidding. My Coach of the Year is going to be, I just want to confirm, because I think they're going to have a good year, but I just want to make sure that I get the name right. I'm pretty sure that's who it is, but yes. My Coach of the Year is actually going to be Jim Schwartz of the Lions. But I think Spagnuolo will come in a close second. Because I think they know he's ready to break out. I think Jim Schwartz is going to take the Lions to a level that no one's going to expect this year.
I don't know, though. They are getting a lot of publicity.
No.
I think it's expected. I think he could still win it, and that's not going to preclude him from winning it or prevent him from winning it, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a shock that they're good as you may think.
Okay. My AFC Coach of the Year, I'm torn between 2 guys, but I'm going to go with John Fox in Denver. Because if I think they're good enough to win the division, he deserves to be Coach of the Year. Yeah. But with a very close second to Gary Kubiak.
So. I like Kubiak, obviously. I liked Houston. And, fuck it. I'll take Rex Ryan. I think they're going to win 13.
Oh, that's hideous.
Well, who else? I don't know. It's not going to be Belichick. I don't think Tomlin's going to win it.
But your team's going to be good anyway. I don't know. I mean, he may get a few votes, but
yeah. But if he wins a lot of games, they'll give it to him.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if you guys go 15-1 or some ridiculous number, then
I said or Kubiak. One of the two of them.
Okay.
I don't think there's any of the shock. I think the Chargers will win the usual 11 games, and Norv's not going to get it. And then, the Colts are going to be and I can't see Harbaugh getting it for the Ravens, and that's it. So, unless the Bills somehow, even finishing third, win like 9 games or something, I don't see. I think it'll come down to Rex or Kubiak.
Okay.
There's actually one coach we didn't talk about, though, which I wanted to talk about. Your defensive coordinator, Rob Ryan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I think like I said, he's going to have to do a magic act because that secondary is going to be absolutely hideous. I think he'll make the front 7 a beast. I think DeMarcus Ware will get MVP votes. He's not my MVP pick. I'll tell you who that is in a minute, and I think you and I may have the same one.
Well, there's only one reason, honestly, I wanted to bring him up to talk about him.
Okay.
Rob Ryan is a fucking big, fat, sloppy pig.
Well, I guess it.
He looks like he's pregnant with Rex Ryan.
I know he's the one thing. At least Rex Ryan is fat all over.
Rob Ryan's actually worked to lose weight. Rob Ryan has put it on. He is.
But I mean, he's misshaped. But even when Rob Ryan, I believe when Rex was at his fattest, at least he was fat all over. He was pleasantly plump everywhere. Rob Ryan is like misshapen. He looks like an ice cream scoop.
Oh
Very
my
weird.
God. And the hair, he is a big, fat, sloppy pig.
Yeah, he is kind of a mess. But you know what? I hope he makes my front seven pretty damn good. And I have a feeling he's gonna make. I mean, as much as DeMarcus Ware is already a stud, he's gonna make him an even better player. But he's not my pick for MVP. I think you and I both know who our MVP is going to be. I think you and I have the same guy in mind. And
probably not. I think I'm going to surprise you.
All right. Well, my MVP is going to be Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to have a great year. He's going to put up crazy numbers. I think he will surpass 4,000, maybe even 4,500 yards. I love all those receivers: Jennings, Driver. He's going to lead the Packers as far as they can go. So I like him for the MVP.
All right, we didn't really talk. Actually, didn't talk much about the Packers as well because I wanted to talk about one thing I'm worried with them, and that is the Super Bowl hangover. Rodgers played a lot of games last year. That team played a lot of games last year, and he took a fucking beating in those games. And you have to wonder if a little bit of that hangover is going to slip in and affect them on any kind of level. I still like them a lot. I think they're going to win a lot of games and make the playoffs. I just think he's not going to have as big a year as normal. He's going to have a very good year. I just don't think he's going to have the year maybe that a lot of people expect him to have.
All right. Well, I like Mike McCarthy. I think he's a good coach that won't let that happen.
Well, it might just be inevitable. It might not be coaching or anything he can do. It might just be wear and tear. You know what I mean? I'm not saying mental letdown. I'm saying physical letdown.
Right.
I mean, don't forget, too, they didn't have a bye and then an easy game. I mean, they played 3 tough games. And then, then the Super Bowl. So they had a long season, a season longer than they've ever had. And Rodgers really took a beating in those games, too.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm hoping not, but you make that's a viable point. It's absolutely a viable point that could happen. All right.
Any predictions?
You're surprised. Well, we go to our surprise team and our disappointment.
Well, no, I didn't say my MVP.
Oh, you didn't say your MVP. That's right. And your MVP is?
Any predictions of who?
I hope you're not going to start playing the song that
I'm not
Mike
playing any
plays
songs.
on Mike in the morning. All right,
No
good.
songs.
You're going to say Sanchez, aren't you?
No.
Okay, good.
Tom Brady. I think Brady will have his usual monster year, put up his big numbers, and win another MVP. As much as I hate him and his stupid Ugg boots and his big lame hair and everything else, and the whole thing.
And his illegitimate children.
Yes, everything else that goes about him, I still think he's the top quarterback in the league, especially with Manning being hurt. And I think he has one more MVP caliber season in him.
Okay. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to put up the numbers too as well. Same thing.
Trust me, I'd rather have Rodgers win. I love Rodgers. I think he's going to have a little bit of a hangover. It happens to the best. I mean, look at Brady after his first Super Bowl. Look at Manning after his. They all kind of lag back that year after. Eli Manning, a lot of these quarterbacks, they all Roethlisberger, they all kind of have that dip the next year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're good, just not as good.
Okay.
I guess surprise and disappointment don't really. We already kind of talked about those.
Yeah. Well, my surprise team is going to be the Broncos, and my disappointment team is going to be the Saints.
Okay. I have surprises the Rams, which we talked about, and / Lions, and disappointments the Colts.
Okay. All right. Let's do the NFC first, and we'll break down the playoffs. My top 6, from 1 to 6, are be the Packers, Falcons, Eagles, Rams, Bucks, and Lions.
Okay. In order for me, I have Eagles 1, Falcons 2, Packers 3, Rams 4, Saints 5, Lions 6. And I have your Cowboys just missing on the tiebreaker to the Lions.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope I can enjoy. I hope the games in December will mean something.
I almost put them in. I wanted to put them in over the Lions, but I think the Lions maybe just sneak in this year. Plus, we're going to give the shout out to our boy Jordan Duncan. He called me out. He said he wanted us to talk about the Lions, and I hope he gave you enough Lions talk. Jordan.
No, I have nothing against his Lions. I have Jim Schwartz maybe winning Coach of the Year in the NFC. Mm-hmm. So what is it? 3-6-4-5, right? So the Lions will go into Philly and lose to the Eagles.
Yep.
The Bucks will go into St. Louis and lose to the Rams.
Okay. For me, now, I have, for those 2 games, I have the Lions losing to the Packers in Green Bay and the Saints going into St. Louis and beating them. I think the Rams are just a year away from winning. They'll have a good season. They're going to win that division. They'll probably win 10 games, 11 games. But I think they'll be a little overmatched against the Saints in a big playoff match.
Okay. So my top 4, I have the Rams going to Green Bay and playing the Packers. And I have the Eagles going to the Georgia Dome and playing the Falcons, and I think the Falcons and I think the top 2 seeds win.
Okay. I have the Saints going to Philly and losing to the Eagles, and Atlanta going to home against the Packers, and Atlanta gets revenge for last year. So I have Eagles, Falcons in the NFC Championship.
I have Packers, Falcons in the NFC Championship, and I think that Matt Ryan will upend Aaron Rodgers on the Lambeau turf, and the Atlanta Falcons are going to the Super Bowl.
Okay, and I have Atlanta defeating Philly, upsetting Philly. I think Vic finally breaks down in that game if he didn't before then, and Atlanta goes to the Super Bowl. I'm with you.
Wow, okay. If you and I have the same Super Bowl, I think it...
I think we're probably going to. And it's funny because I went chalk and, well, I have the Saints winning though. Actually, in the AFC, I have a couple of wild card upsets, but as far I have the 1-2, 1-2 on both of them. So
okay. All right. Here's my 1-6 in the AFC: 1 Baltimore, 2 the Jets, 3 Houston, 4 Denver, 5 New England, and 6 Pittsburgh.
Okay. I have the Jets 1, Steelers 2, Chargers 3, Texans 4, Patriots 5, Ravens 6.
Okay. So my 2 wildcard games, I think the Steelers go into Houston, and Houston will win in double overtime.
Wow.
And I think
that is ballsy right there.
And I think the Patriots go into Denver, and Brady will throw for 480 and throttle the Broncos. I think as much as I love John Fox, and I'm on the Bronco bandwagon, I think against a superior offense like that, even at home, I think Brady and Brady lost one of his most frustrating playoff games in Denver a few years ago. I think he gets that back, and I think he wins that game. So
I have the Chargers, Baltimore coming into San Diego, but I have San Diego winning. They usually always seem to win that opening playoff game at home.
Okay.
And then I have the Patriots going into Houston and routing the Texans, I think.
Okay. So I have the Patriots as the lowest seed. So the Patriots go into Baltimore and play the Ravens, which I think would be one hell of a football game. And you know what? I take the Pats in an upset. Pats will go on the road into Baltimore. I still think Joe Flacco's 1 year away from that because I just don't think he still has enough skill positions to beat a team like the Patriots. So I think the Patriots go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens, and I think Houston goes into the Meadowlands, into MetLife, into the Snoopy Bowl, and I think you guys beat the Texans. So this is what my pick. You're going to get what you want, my friend. My PIC. I'm giving you the AFC Championship home game against the Patriots.
I don't want the Patriots in the playoffs again. I have Chargers going to the Jets, and the Jets beating them as they always do in the playoffs. And then I have the Patriots losing to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. I think that'll be a tight game, and I think Pittsburgh finally gets them the fuck off their back, and they win that game. And then the Jets get revenge for last year. This time they have home field, and they defeat Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship. So I have Jets, Falcons, Super Bowl.
I have, in overtime, in a game that sees, are you ready for this? And I'm not saying, and don't get upset. In a game that sees Mark Sanchez get knocked out in the third quarter, McElroy will come in, fourth quarter comeback, tie the game. McElroy will lead them down the field to an overtime field goal at the Snoopy Bowl.
All right. If this all happens, I will buy you a Cowboys jersey of your choice.
The Jets will win in overtime over the Pats at the Meadowlands, and my Super Bowl is the same as yours, the Jets and the Falcons.
Okay. And I have the Jets defeating the Falcons to win their first Super Bowl since 1969.
Sorry, my friend. I'm going to have to give the nod to Matt Ryan in this one. I think it'll be a good football game, but I think Jets will lose a very close game, 27-17 to the Falcons.
Now, of course, this is the game that should have happened in the 1998-99 season.
Yes, that's true. Yes. And I would have rooted for Vinny in that game. Because I don't think I liked a single guy on that. Even that stupid bird dance, and I hate Chris Chandler. I would have definitely rooted for Vinny the Goomba and the rest of that. That Jet team was fun to watch.
Yes.
I was always a big Curtis Martin fan. I was glad when he left the Patriots. I wanted to like him. I don't know. You know what? And I'm not even a Patriot hater. I was just always a fan, and I said this. I've talked to many. There's many. You and I know many Patriot fans, unfortunately, and a lot of them are good guys. But ever since they got rid of their Pat the Patriot and went with those stupid Elvis silver crap, I've never liked them. I like the Pat the Patriot on the helmet, and I like the red jerseys, and but Patriot fans tell me that was a sign of losing. So That's why they like the Flying Elvis or whatever the hell they call it, stupid logo. But I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl in Lucas Oil. I think it'll be well played, but I think Mark Sanchez continues his progression as a quarterback, but I think he will fall short against Matt Ryan.
Okay.
So, but I can't. I'm very surprised you and I picked the same Super Bowl.
I know, weird, huh?
That is very strange, obviously, and I understand you want to pick the Jets. I'm trying to be much more level-headed.
Well, here's the thing, though.
I'm very impressed with the fact you gave the Cowboys some love, and I appreciate that. I'm just being cautious because I really don't know what to expect.
But I talked about this in our baseball one when I picked the Yankees. This is the plus of having good teams that you root for.
Yeah.
You can pick them and not completely come off as a homer. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Jets will win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's extremely possible.
Right.
So
of course.
And same with me picking the Yankees to win the World Series this year. So
right.
That's the positive of having.
Did they end up winning tonight?
No, they lost.
They were down. I saw they were down 7-5. So, and I think the AFC wins the Pro Bowl. Not that anybody cares. So there you go. There is our NFL preview. I hope you all enjoyed it. Jets. We both have Jets Falcons playing at Lucas Oil. We just have different results. I think the progression continues for the Jets franchise. I do. I don't think this is another loss.
No. I mean that Jets franchise is done. I mean, regardless, even though they've lost in the AFC Championship, this is the most sustained success they've had in a long time. So ever, probably, honestly. So I mean, Rex Ryan and Tannenbaum have completely turned, and Woody Johnson have all completely turned that franchise around from being, and also ran laughingstock to a shit-talking, smack-talking, legit contender. And they've done it very quickly, so. And right. I give a lot of credit, like I said, to Eric Mangini as well for laying the foundation with some of those draft picks that they made. Nick Mangold, Diprika Shaw-Ferguson, Dustin Keller. A lot of those guys that have become the core of this team in a quick span. Actually, did he draft Sanchez or Ryan? That was Ryan's first year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rex drafted him.
2008, right?
But yeah, Mangini made a lot of shrewd draft picks. Of course, the only one they did fuck up was Vernon Golston, but they were in a tough spot that year. It's the 6th pick, and there was only 5 good players. So.
And but the key thing for the Jets is they've got to win those road games against the AFC North. So
yeah,
they're going to have to go into Baltimore, or into Pittsburgh, and win a big game. If
they have to win that. That Baltimore back-to-back of the Patriots, that is their make or break to where they're going. I think they're going to make the playoffs either way. That's their make or break to how positioning. So let me quickly read some feedback from our Facebook page, and then we'll give you our NFL-related plugs, and we'll get out of here for tonight. So
yes.
Okay, of course, this franchise Matt Davis, JETS just says Jets, and Matt Souza comes back with PATS, Pats. Corey Ferreira, I'm not a huge NFL fan. I prefer the NBA. I only watch the Packer games when they air them here in Australia. So I did not realize Corey's from Australia. Pretty cool.
Wow.
Because I am a Packer fan. I'm hoping for back-to-back Super Bowl title this year. I doubt it because we got lucky last year. No, I don't think you got lucky, Corey. They were a good team.
No, they were a good team.
J. Arsenio D'Amato, kick it out of bounds, dodge. Jason Greenhouse, in February, the Lombardi Trophy will be taking a stroll down Broadway in a ticker tape parade. JETS, Jets. And then who else but Brian Semek with his novel? I'm going to read it this time for you, Brian. In the AFC, my Steelers will somehow still have a great season without an offensive line and most likely lose in the playoffs. The Jets will blow another playoff game. The Browns will be better. The Ravens will fight Pittsburgh for the division. I look for New England and the Patriots to win back, or will be back to title form and head to the Super Bowl. Playoff teams: Pitt, Baltimore, New England, New York, Houston, San Diego. Same as me. In the NFC, Green Bay will have a Super Bowl hangover. Now, Brian and I are very alike here. Come back to the pack a little bit. They'll still win the division, but lose in the playoffs. Watch out for Detroit. All those years of early pick, it's finally going to start paying off. People talk about the Bucs being a trendy pick to make some noise, but I don't see it. I think they peaked last year. Will fall back below 500. Brian and I don't know. We have the exact same everything, pretty much. Philly will be good, win the division, or lose in the playoffs. I don't think Vic is clutch enough to win a huge playoff game. I look for Atlanta to finally get off the hump and get to the NFC title game where they play Drew Brees in New Orleans and win. Playoff teams, same as mine again. Atlanta, New Orleans, Philly, Green Bay, Detroit, St. Louis. Atlanta versus New England in the Super Bowl. Pats and Brady get number 4 based on everyone being healthy. So the only difference we have is the Jets and Patriots there in the Super Bowl. But we have the same exact playoff teams and the same thoughts about Green Bay, Tampa, Philly, and there. So pretty cool stuff. Thank you, my boy Smack, Brian Samek. Of course, as always, guys, keep the feedback coming. And
absolutely. Yep.
We'll wrap up with this, of course. We will be doing the Pick'em League. We will be starting that on the. We're going to be doing it on the message board, I think, instead of the Yahoo. We didn't really get a lot of love for the Yahoo idea, so we'll be putting up that info very shortly before the season, and we'll have that up there. So we hope you guys all play along with us. Do your picks every week and go up against me and Scott. We'll be doing it on the board every week. Also, there is a fantasy league for those that are into that on the message board. Our buddy Derek LaRue set that up. So go to bigelow34.proboards.com, and you can sign up for that. There's all the Yahoo information there. Please get involved. We're trying to really load up that league, so I know there's going to be a live draft at some point. Other than that, you can do your predictions every week, and we will be doing a weekly podcast with our picks every week as well, so that'll be fun. Scott and I going head-to-head. We'll keep the totals and see who comes out ahead.
Yes. Next week's will probably be... Well, we're going to try and do it on Wednesday so we can get.
The Thursday
if not, we'll post because obviously the first game of the season is next Thursday from Lambeau Field. It's the last two world champions collide, the Saints and Packers, and then of course the full schedule on Sunday, and then 2 games on Monday night. So if we can't get to these pick'ems before Thursday, we'll post that first game on our Facebook page so you all see that we made the pick.
Yes. Yep. So you guys will know who we take, and then we'll go from there. So again, thank you for your patience with the whole hurricane, the power outage. We're glad we were able to get back in business for this tonight, and because we love you, we will be coming in late Friday night to do WrestleMania 8 for you. So get your comments. I got the threads up on our page and Graham Cawthon's History of WWE Facebook page. Check that out as well. Of course, hit us up on Twitter at Place2B Podcast, and you can leave us feedback there. I'm always kind of retweeting different wrestling news and sports news. So check that out, and thank you as always for listening. And we are ready for a great football season because we all want to welcome it back.
Yes.